Today we're flying 11 hours in economy with British Airways from London all the way to sunny Los Angeles. Let's get right into it. Here's our aircraft for today. Golf Sierra Tango Bravo Delta, a 12-year-old Boeing 777-300ER, which was delivered to BA back in 2011. Right before boarding commenced, my name was called for a documents check. These are just regular checks which are carried out with random passengers. But what this also meant was that I was one of the first to board the aircraft. Let's hop on board. BA's economy cabin features a 343 configuration, similar to that of what you would see on many other wide-body aircraft in this class. Honestly, given that we're lucky enough to have the updated cabin for this flight, economy really doesn't seem that bad. The refresh here was definitely needed. Here's my home for the next 11 hours, seat 48K. Right, let's have a little look around before we get going, starting with the legroom. Honestly, the legroom is okay. Not the best, just okay. I have enough room to somewhat stretch my legs. The only thing that's slightly frustrating is this bracket that's holding the chair to the floor, which is 100% in a really awkward location. I can't complain too much about the legroom though, as I got incredibly lucky and had a free seat next to me. Aside from that, here's the adjustable tray table. Nothing too special here. The last few things that you'll find when flying in World Traveller are some earphones, a blanket, a small pillow, and of course a flat screen IFE monitor. Let's talk about the in-flight entertainment once we're up in the air. Anyway, let's get going.
Hand baggage must be placed under the seats in front of you.
Here we go then, it's time to take off from runway 27 left. Now that we're airborne, let's take a look at our route for this flight. Departing north out of London Heathrow, we headed towards Scotland before venturing out over the North Atlantic Ocean. From here, we made our way past Iceland, over Greenland and the Labrador Sea before entering Canadian airspace, where we flew over Quebec, Ontario and Winnipeg. From here, we then entered US airspace and flew over North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, then skimming the border between Nevada and Arizona before descending into California. What's really cool is that you can fly this exact route in Infinite Flight. Feel free to give it a go. With that out of the way, let's take a bit of a closer look at the in-flight entertainment. Although it's slightly unresponsive, you definitely won't get bored. There are honestly quite a few films to choose from for both kids and adults, which is great, especially considering the access to Paramount+. On top of this, you even get to browse through a variety of goodies in case you want to treat yourself to something on the flight. Then, of course, you have the standard map option, where you can view the route along with some details like the flight time, altitude, speed, and distance. It's also worth noting that there are 2 USB charging ports and a headphone jack. There is Wi-Fi available on this flight, so let's give it a test. I purchased the browse and stream option for $17.99, which gave me access for the entire flight and gave me speeds of around 2 megabytes per second download and 1.5 upload. This really isn't that great, but to be honest, it worked and did the job. I mean, let's face it, you can't expect super fast Wi-Fi thousands of feet above the Atlantic. Approximately 1.5 hours into the flight, the crew started a light service, this being a small pack of pretzels and a drink or two of your choice. Shortly after, the crew began the first meal service. The choice was between pasta or peri-peri chicken. I chose the peri-peri chicken option, and it was honestly really delicious. I will admit, I'm a sucker for plain food. You either love it or you hate it. There's nothing quite like eating some peri-peri chicken whilst taking in the stunning views from 34,000 feet. Okay, so I think we're around 4.5 hours into the flight now. Just got up to go to the toilet, so we might as well do a quick loo review. But the flight's going well so far. The seat isn't too uncomfortable yet, so I mean it's bearable. I've just been doing some work on the laptop. The laptop space isn't that great, so if you want to do some work, then you've got to be careful, especially if the person in front of you reclines their seat and potentially snaps your laptop screen in half. But yeah, so far so good. Quick side note, speaking of screen snapping in half, it does seem as if BA have purposely designed their seats with a cutout in the back for tablet or laptop screens to comfortably squeeze between. This honestly is a really nice touch, as you won't have to worry about the person in front of you reclining and breaking something. What I will say though is just be careful if you have a screen size bigger than 14 inches, as it will not fit in this gap. Anyway, back to the low review. The toilets at the back of the aircraft are relatively spacious, unlike the toilet on the previous flight on board the Dornier 328 jet. There's nothing too interesting about it though, it's just your standard economy class toilet. As nice as it might be to relax in your seat and gaze out of the window for hours on end, it's also very important to stretch your legs throughout the flight to avoid DVT. After stretching my legs for around 15 minutes or so, the crew started to hand out small pots of vanilla ice cream, which was honestly really tasty. However, it was at this point I started to get a little irritable and uncomfortable. Right, got 1 hour and 47 minutes left, and now I'm definitely starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. Almost there. This flight is going super quick for you in the video, but really at this point it started to drag. With a little over an hour before landing, the crew started the final meal service. I went for the tarragon chicken option. Just like the first meal earlier on in the flight, it was really delicious. The economy food with BA isn't actually that awful. Anyway, let's descend into California. "11 hours later, we're on the ground in Los Angeles, and it's time for an honest review on this flight. To keep it short and simple, the flight was pretty decent. The new seats are actually okay, however, I did have a slight advantage with there being a free seat next to me, which meant I could stretch out a little more than usual. I would say, for a flight between 5 to 8 hours, these seats are absolutely fine. Anything above 8 hours will start to get uncomfortable, which might make World Traveller Plus worth considering. The food was also really nice, which I know for some people is a big thing. Plain food can either be really terrible or absolutely fine. In this case, on this route, the food was fine, so I wouldn't worry too much about this at all. Now, although the food is fine, and I'm speaking from experience here, it almost seems as if there needs to be one more light service during BA's long-haul flights. I always seem to get off the aircraft hungry, whereas Virgin Atlantic on the other hand seems to serve a bit more throughout their flights. Have you flown with BA before? If you have, let us know about your experience in the comments below. With that said, thank you for watching another Infinite Flight video. We'll see you in the next one.